it's very purposeful, I believe, why we are a part of this particular tour. He taps into some of the stuff we've talked about on Sana Sana, older records.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned that one because that one was really made in AZ, in the desert, all about all those energies out in the desert. And Moodie Black is built on an ethos of spirituality from the desert and being human and authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's at the root of MB, and that was like the first realized record that we did.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense that he would hone in on that, and yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, in the bio, Moodie Black is described as a rap band infused with gothic shamanism and a cosmic punk rock witch dream. And then in an excellent piece of writing by Alex Smith.
Alex Smith, yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to read the final sentence of this, or at least the final sentence that's on the Bandcamp from the piece of writing by Alex Smith. It's about the transition from Lucas Acid to Fuzz, drawing on the spirituality component and manifestation.
Yep.
So I'm going to quote this, and then I wonder whether we can bring it into conversation with what you were saying about kind of manifestation beyond Fuzz.
Sure.
So Alex Smith concludes his piece of writing. Where Lucas Acid saw a witch coming into her own, casting spells and conjuring a universe, Fuzz is the result of that conjuring. A wild, genre-bending explosion of cinematic cyborg sound ripping that universe apart.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds like Alex.
Sounds and there's an accuracy to it.
Yeah.
I think so. With Lucas Acid, is it fair to say that we're at the peak of the commitment to Moodie Black?
For sure.
Yeah, and creating this universe and manifesting this whole. We were talked before about the soundscape and how the soundscape of Moodie Black, if we compare it to other noise rap, there is what you were saying in the previous interview, varying expressions of emotion in that soundscape.
Yep.
And it's more enveloped and emotional and soundscapey than other noise rap. That is the manifested universe which others can share in at shows in particular.
We hope so.
Yeah. But then with Fuzz, there's a kind of deconstruction, ripping that universe apart. That universe is ripped apart because there's something about like transcendence of the given that's, I think you effectively, in our first ever interview, we're talking about the cornerstone of Moodie Black. And part of the identity of Moodie Black is kind of relating to that which one doesn't relate with as a means of kind of then transcending what one has been.
That's nuts.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's true. But what's weird though now is almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy with it, because it's like, because of the weirdness the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And then since Fuzz, and we're working on all the new live stuff, which is great. And I'm finding it hard to relate anymore to what Moodie Black was.
Yeah. You're so...
I feel very foreign.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. And it scares me, because I'm like, why do I feel like I can't... I used to be able to, when we would tour, just jump right into like connecting with the K-Death character, because I consider who I am on stage. It's me, but it's different.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've been struggling to be like, who am I in this context? We would do a lot of older songs and stuff. And so that's part of my journey right now, is like, I don't know, it's weird. Like there's an emptiness with how I relate to the work. I love it, but there's something wrong. There's a weird disconnect that I don't know. I'm in the middle of it. I wish I could explain it to you.
Yeah, in the middle of the existential reckoning.
Yeah.
The
it's
opening
very
lyric.
weird, everything that's going on. It's not lost on me. We also, it's funny, because the tacos, when we had manifested, I guess, some of this stuff happening, people were like, oh, you manifested, I get it. I used to watch Tony Robbins and be all into manifesting, and I know all about it. But I don't know. Maybe if I manifested this is totally actually manifesting. It's totally different than what I thought manifesting was.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know.
Different in
I'm
practice
following
than
what
I
you're
thought.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also worked really hard for a long time. But I forgot to mention too, as we were so we went to Lindale, then we got an opportunity to move to North Loop Galley with the Food House, a much more prestigious, real restaurant spot. Mm-hmm. Again, I had a friend, Bree, at Rectangle Pizza.
Yes.
Awesome pizza, awesome people.
Yes.
And I always we'd go to the North Loop Galley and we'd get a Rectangle Pizza on Wednesdays at 4:30 because they had happy hour, $2 off pizza. Me and Jamie, my partner, would go there, like every Wednesday almost. And then there's always like there's different food stalls, 1, 2, 3, 4. Mm-hmm. There's always an empty one. Not always, but most of the time one of them was empty, and we'd fantasize. Oh, it'd be cool, like have a little taco shop.
Ah.
We'd think about it. And I was like, oh, there's no way. Like, okay, yeah, one day.
Like in a different life.
Yeah,
perhaps.
that's what I thought about all this. Oh, one day we'll have a spot. And no one ever does it. Everyone always talks about stuff, and they never do it. And so after we had the taco spot, I hit up Bree just like, yeah, whatever. It's not going to be available. I was like, what are they doing with that space next to y'all at Rectangle? And she was like, oh, it's available. I can get you, actually the owner is in today. Do you want his number? I was like, all right. So I called him, or I think I might have emailed, and happened to be in town because he lives in Pittsburgh, where they have another galley. And just like everything else, he was like, yeah, we're interested, send the menu, blah, blah. So I send the menu. Then I go in and meet with him like that day. And he was like, yeah, here's the terms, and like, do you want to do it? And I had already had all my licensing, everything that they needed I had. Mm. And it was a situation where I didn't have to go out of pocket to, like, it was like, just let's do it.
Yeah.
It was stuff, again. And so that happened, and we moved to North Loop. But as we're moving to North Loop, so it's like, all right, we'll leave Lindale, move everything to North Loop. Mm-hmm. As we were about to do that, I get a message from Sleigh Bells in my Instagram. Mm. Again, no agents, never had an agent, never had a manager. Everything has been on our own stone. The reason we went to Europe and got to go overseas, somebody emailed me. There was no, and that's what I'm very proud of with Moodie Black, is it was literally all on our hard work and the music. Like I never was gifted anything. And it's so much sweeter when you get opportunities like that.
Yeah.
So Sleigh Bells calls. And they're like, oh, you live in Texas, right? I'm like, no, we don't live in, we're from Texas, but we don't live there. And they're like, oh, our opener, because of pandemic, can't do these shows in Texas. Like, do you want to do it? Without thinking, yeah, let's do it. I have no idea how I'm going to do that. We're like moving a business, and it's like, it's me and Sean. We're the only ones that run it.
Right, this same people that are the band.
Yep, and how am I going to get to Texas?
Right.
So I'll do it. Because always, and that's what I mean, you got to take opportunities. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. No idea how. And then at the same time, I'm thinking, yeah, I'll say yes, hit the manager, something will happen. This isn't really going to happen. And then the manager hits me up, the actual management, and it's like, yeah, do you want to do it? Here's the terms. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Still no idea how I'm going to do it. And luckily we had there just happened to be like a crossover period that we should have been moving stuff. And I was like, we're going. How can you miss an opportunity for Moodie Black?
Yeah, let's integrate that as well.
And then we went, and we took our car and drove down to Texas, met with Sleigh Bells, and played four or five of like the greatest shows we've ever played. And we only had a couple days to prepare, practice-wise, which I think helped. And we went out there and played, and it was amazing. Mm. And the way I felt on stage and the shows that we did felt different. Mm. There's something going on with us as a band live. I can't put my finger on it, but it feels different. Mm. People's reactions are different. These people didn't know us. Mm. So it was fun because it was like getting to see that version
with
again.
No preconception.
Yeah, before you get used to now it's like they didn't know. So you get that apprehension at first, and then they really love it. Mm. There's just a different feel about us now.
You're working with Sean so much. There's the experience of running the business together, and then developing a process at boot house.
Yeah.
Is that shifting the process and the experience of working together, both writing and performing?
I think the only thing it's affecting is making us sick of each other even more. 'Cause it's like
It must be difficult.
It is, yeah. I mean,
navigate.
because we're at our worst all the time because we're absolutely exhausted.
Yeah.
I mean, for a year, all we've done is work 14-hour days every day, and we're still doing it. And he's really tired, as I lean on Sean a lot to help, and I feel bad about it a lot of times. So that sucks. But he's doing it, and we're both doing it. And I'm like, look, we're on this weird mission, and I really feel like there's something just propelling us.
Yeah. It appears to be.
Yeah, that's why I feel like why the stage shows are the way they are, the opportunities are. So I'm just like, I'm in my head, I'm like, let's just ride it out. I think we're also at an age now where it's like, we're just really good at what we do because we've worked so long, so hard in so many circumstances, and we've left off the gas, so we have this perspective outside of it. Now we're not just necessarily so inundated. I watch performers all the time in my spare time and day off. I'm on YouTube all the time, from really popular bands now to old school. So I'm always studying, and I'm always seeing all these mistakes people make, and I'm like, okay, we're not going to do that. And I'm always like, also.
What kinds of things are you observing? What manner of mistake?
For the mistakes, people they start just on. Like, I see that all the time, especially with rap or noise rap. It's like if you start the set screaming, or you're already hyped up when you start, you have nowhere else to go.
There's no journey.
Yeah, a performance to me should have peaks and valleys, and put your foot off the gas a lot more often than you put it on. And I know that because I used to do that, where I'd be going 100%. You just can't wait, but it's like reserve, stand back.
Yeah, it was interesting listening to. I was listening to the song "Fang" on Sana Sana earlier today, and it was interesting recognizing some of the features that have remained consistent.
Yeah.
Like there are within that song in particular, less pronounced than say in Jesus Bound and other songs on Fuzz that we were talking about these features in relation to last time. But there are the collage style. There is already the collage style. It's not as pronounced, but it's there.
Yeah.
The kind of the tapestry that we're creating, the soundscapey, enveloped emotional quality. That's there too.
Yep.
But there is more virtuosic kind of bars and fast rapping.
Yep. It's a lot more rap.
Yeah.
Rappy.
Yeah. Will you be performing any of those songs from Sana Sana on the tour?
We thought about a couple of them. Probably not from Sana Sana, but there's some Nausea stuff. It's probably the oldest. The Sana Sana stuff is hard to. Is there anything else? No. It's just hard because we don't have a lot of the old masters. So our sound quality has changed a lot over the years, and so it's just hard to take one of those old songs and plug it in.
You described it as the first major release and a catalyst of what would eventually become who we are.
Yep.
In what sense can that be kind of singled out as the catalyst?
That's when we first did a fully realized, noisier, full rap record. And if you go and listen to a lot of the references, like you mentioned, whether you're thinking about Fang, even the song title, still words that I use.
Yeah.
In
that's in
2021. Yeah.
When we were talking about the existential significance of music in your life in the previous interview, you said you wouldn't know what to do with all this stuff, where to put the stuff without it.
Yep.
And how, as a child, when the reckoning begins, there wasn't yet music
Nope.
as a medium to grow with and through. So you have and again, I think this focus on you as a human, not you as like the great entertainer or the artist or K-Death. You were saying even last time you were saying it's dangerous to wear that all the time, to K-Death all the time. But you have, as a human, a large part of your story as a human is experiencing the healing and empowering, growth facilitating quality of music. And obviously that isn't something that all humans, for whatever reason, experience to the same degree.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So then being in the spotlight as like a musician, as an entertainer, with the circus of everything, and then being aware and trying to be a force that helps opening up of experience to creativity for everyone, working with or against the system as it is, to facilitate that. Again, all of that relates to the ethos of Persephone again.
Yeah, it does. It's so crazy.
Because if you just watch the beginning of that,
I'll watch it.
Of Persephone, What Is, there's like a kind of a beginning of the show, and this is back from 2013. Yep. But there's the beginning of a show, and it's kind of like a kind of performance art piece. There's a caravan, and initially it's just Maynard, and he's setting up like a fire and reflecting on human development, the history of human development, and telling a story of human development within which there comes a point where we realize for our survival, that our survival is contingent upon how creative we can be.
Yep.
And at this point, so he tells in this story, like one human witnesses another no longer being alive, and then thinks, oh, okay, that's the thing. Then we reckon existential reckoning with mortality. Yeah. So then we start in this story that Maynard's telling at the beginning of that Persephone, What Is. The story continues. Our instincts to fight or run were no longer enough. We needed to establish more effective forms of clothing and shelter, more consistent sources of food. And he's pouring his wine as he's telling the story. To use every fiber of our imagination, every spark of our creative energy to stay ahead of this daily threat. So in this story, through the urge to survive and then ideally thrive, and this makes me recall our whole conversation last time about learning to be at stress with the awkwardness, and then you saying you had to learn to function, not only function but thrive with a bunch of handicaps. Okay, so here we have the human with a bunch of handicaps needing to discover like how to have life be more sustainable. And why Maynard is telling this story at the beginning of that documentary and at the beginning of the live performance there is to present this idea that there was a time when there was much more of a balance between the artistic and the utilitarian.
For sure.
So we were harnessing these creative energies out of necessity in response to threat. And then there were times when we would hit upon a response that worked, and then in this narrative, these movements, these actions and reactions become skills, and we rehearse them not only in context but out of context as well. So he's reflecting on, say, martial arts, and then the crowd get it and cheer when he's saying, so by day we hunt, we gather, we cultivate, we build, and by night we dance. And then like everyone at the rock concert is like, yeah, so we dance, we sing. So it's interesting, like taking, even before the music starts there, taking the audience on this journey, which is the story of humans, and a story about creativity being a necessary part of the human experience, and trying to reconnect with that truth. And creativity kind of emerged as a survival tactic that then kind of leads into thriving. just
You can.
and then there's so many characters. Not only, where it's so you were reflecting on K-Death.
Yep.
And being Chris and K-Death, and then in Pucifer we have the various characters.
Oh yeah, there's tons of them. Lucifer, Tool, all those people.
And even within Pucifer, there is there's a character, Major Douche.
Yeah, there's all these weird. See, I haven't gotten into the ethos enough. There are all these like weird characters, and
there's something really kind of whimsical and showy and kind of just fun and playful and humorous about it.
Yeah.
But there's something intentional too, reflecting on identity and character. Orange County Registers said the production matters as much as the music with the Pucifer live performance. It's a thought-provoking, senses-jabbing statement.
Yeah.
And Moody Black has also always been a thought-provoking, senses-jabbing statement.
Yeah.
And then I think part of the function of Pucifer for Maynard, I assume, is recognizing, well, whenever we're creating and performing music, if we're doing so with the kind of ethos that Maynard and you have, then it ends up being thought-provoking, senses-jabbing. Now, can we kind of combine that with this like self-referential awareness component?
I don't know. We can't. We're always looking for that, for people to be able to connect beyond the show.
But going into it with your kind of trepidation about K-Death and this feeling distant from the K-Death character seems actually a perfect part of it.
Yeah.
Because it fits with, even back in 2013, what was going on, pre like existential reckoning being the statement.
No, totally, 100%.
That's what was happening back then. The cornerstone of what Pucifer is, Maynard said then, is an attempt to reconnect, and we were talking about reconnection last time, with this seemingly lost balance. Because we in Pucifer feel that life is too short not to create something with every breath we draw.
Sure.
And I feel like that ties back to the story that we've been telling today, where in any moment, you were saying to Sean, like, we're riding this wave, and let's just keep on like showing up, kind of responding and being present and responsive in the moment to where we are in this story that we're obviously not authoring.
Yeah.
And if we bring in like manifestation again, like there are these components where it's like you see that empty space, and you and Jamie would see it and be like, oh, it would be nice to be there. And then you make the post saying Moody Black are just going to play theaters now. And
so weird.
And these things are happening.
Yeah.
But they're happening alongside and in a way that is like wonderfully somehow related with the shifting of attitude towards the role of art within the well-lived life holistically, with the wellness component.
100%. Yeah, all that has changed. And it's changed everything. Because up until today when you talked to me, that wasn't a part of Moody Black's story. It was like nothing happening.
Right.
Here, wall. And now it's like, who knows what'll happen after or during. But yeah, it's wild. This particular 2 months or 2 years of the story have been a reminder that like it couldn't have been more of a reminder of like you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be where you're supposed to be. So I'd been talking to Maynard for a while, and I went with all the trans stuff that I think we talked a little bit about on Fuzz.
Yes.
I hadn't been home. I've been in Minneapolis. I haven't been to Phoenix in like 2-3 years, maybe 4. It was a long time since I had seen my parents in person.
And so on the trip to see Maynard, you also saw your parents?
It was a trip to see my parents for Christmas.
Oh.
And we went up there and everything was great. We're there during Christmas, and his wife hits me up day before Christmas or on Christmas Day. And it's like, oh, if you want to come out, we're in Jerome. Blah, blah. And we had a flight I think we were leaving that night. And I was like, oh, we got to go. It was a yes moment. Oh, we got to go meet Maynard. We're going to go on tour. We have to meet. So we just took my parents' car and drove up to Jerome. It's like an hour and a half, 2 hours away. And we're driving through the desert, middle of nowhere. And I've taken that drive a million times because I went to college out in the middle of nowhere in the desert in Cochise. And here I am, all these years later with MB and this massive opportunity just driving in the middle of the desert. A spiritual place for me. And we're driving up the mountains and there's a rainbow and it just like rained. It was raining in Phoenix that day. That morning actually as well. We took Dara, which was our dog that we had since Moodie Black started.
Yeah.
She died like a year ago, almost a year ago. And we got her cremated. And so that trip was also, she loved Phoenix. I never got the chance to take her back because we're like, we'll go back to Phoenix sometime. She didn't make it. And so we took her to spread ashes. So we did that in the morning before we went to go see Maynard. There was a finality with that, obviously the death of the dog, but she was a lot. She was a huge part of Moodie Black and the ethos. She was there from day one when I first started MB until she died. Spread her ashes out there, drove up to Maynard. Crazy rainy day in AZ, which doesn't happen often. And then we met and talked for like an hour and a half or 2 hours and had his food and pasta and bread and all this stuff. And you know, 1 minute, no one cares about us as a band. No one still does. And we have no prospects. And the next minute I'm driving in the desert and I'm sitting in one of the biggest rock stars in the world's house.
Yeah, on this trip, which is, for you as a human, there's all kinds of endings and significant moments just in your life with the time with your parents and that being a positive time with them and the completion of the story with your dog.
Yeah.
And then like somehow woven into that tapestry is sitting at the table with one of the biggest rock stars on the planet.
That I've been trying for years to try to get. Again, you don't get anything from people. So again, as a musician, artist, you know, and you should know, maybe you don't know. Like, this is a great opportunity. Enjoy it for what it is. Artists, musicians get caught up thinking, oh, we'll go on this, and here we go. We're gonna blow up. This is gonna lead one thing. In music, nothing leads to another. It's always just like, enjoy what you get.
Which goes back to with every breath, like living creatively with every breath. That for me is a cornerstone. I mean, I'm not saying that's the cornerstone. And that, I think, relates to what you were saying in our first interview, was the same phrase, the cornerstone of Moodie Black. And rather than, you know, you were saying what people think manifestation is, like, I'm going to like make this happen.
It doesn't, I mean, you could try that. That might work, but it didn't.
But there's more magic or more, something more potent is happening here. When in every, so again, when I was listening earlier, the idea of living creatively, resourcefully, with every breath, like opportunities are arising, and then you're saying yes and to them. Caleb presents an opportunity, and then you're saying yes and to that, and then you're realizing, oh, okay, well, given that I'm now like riding this wave, like it makes sense to kind of do this paperwork, and kind of honor the fact that I'm on this wave, and then like you find yourself in a situation where all of a sudden the door that you were, you know, wishing or, you know, fantasizing about, like having that spot, suddenly it's there right in front of you. And then in that moment, the way to kind of live creatively in that breath is just don't resist opening the door. Don't let the bad omens in the program get in the way of just opening that door.
So in the same way I did it with the food house, was like, I don't know what I'm doing as a cook or chef necessarily, but
in this moment, given that I'm on this track, like the next step for me to do is this. So I'll do that.
That's what I did.
And yeah, I mean that's living creatively.
Yeah.
I think
I think so.
with every breath, which is again the cornerstone. And
well, it's built out of survival too. You got to do
Right.
something to survive.
yeah, which is absolutely the story that Maynard is telling at the beginning of that documentary.
Yep.
In Bullet Train to Iowa, there's a lyric, I'll try to keep this conversation light, maybe up all night. And it sounds like there's been a fair amount of lightness to the dialogue with Maynard, talking about food and business. He's proud of the coffee.
Oh, his espresso machine.
Espresso machine.
And all the gear he says he's bringing on tour to cook with.
Have you had much discussion about existential reckoning?
No.
Or maybe, I think that will just be a shared experience on the tour, perhaps.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I don't think he's interested in talking about that stuff.
Right.
I don't get the sense. I'm not.
Right.
Like, I'm not really interested in telling everybody about, especially other musicians, about, here's...
Try to keep the conversation light.
We will.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just talk about food. And he's obsessed with that, yeah. So we've talked about that stuff and other things. And I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what we're going to end up talking about or if we will get to talking. You know, people are different on tour, especially bigger tours. This would be weird because in all the years that we've done tours, we've never done a traditional tour. The traditional being traveling on a tour bus with trucks and gear and production people and venues that you can take showers in. That's always overseas. You know, we tour more like that there, but we still haven't. This is totally different. So that'll be weird. I'm again apprehensive because I like my privacy. I like me and Sean being able to just leave in an SUV.
Yes.
So they had to convince me to go on the bus and stuff like that.
Oh, you had a preference to do your own travel?
Yeah, I would have preferred it, but financially it doesn't make sense. And we save a lot of money just staying on a bus and but then you don't have your own autonomy. So I'm apprehensive about that. And we're bringing our drummer, Bentley, who's in Snailmate. I just feel like for the larger scale shows, we've talked about a drummer for years. This is the best drummer we've ever had. Way better musician than we are. So he'll anchor it way better than we can. We have to teach him how to unlearn some of stop being so good at music for a second to play Moodie Black, because it doesn't work like that. So it'll be interesting. There's a lot of stuff. We have 58 days from today. That whenever this comes out, whenever we recorded this, we have 58 days to get our business up and running on its own while we're gone.
Right.
With the help of with Nixta. But more importantly, we have 58 days to figure out just a lot of logistic stuff, because we'll also be bringing our own sound engineer. They were flying from France. And we're gonna have to have our own monitors situation on, a lot of weird logistical stuff that they don't tell you for a bigger, and then we're upscaling the tour. We have to upscale the shows just because the stages are way bigger, and we just want to make it more theatrical a bit, but without doing too much.
Yeah.
I don't want to make it look gimmicky.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the Palace show. I got my ticket for that.
July 3rd?
July 3rd, yes. And at the time of this conversation, are there
There's still tickets.
There are still tickets.
There probably will be.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Minneapolis. They don't care about it. There'll be plenty of tickets. I hope not, but yeah, there will be. I don't know. They are selling out pretty fast, though, honestly. So I would probably get tickets whenever this comes out, if they're still available.
July 3rd at the Palace.
July 3rd at the Palace, yeah.